Hi, my name is Dawn Hill, and I'm proudly the state representative of Ogunquit, as well as several other towns. But I wanted to talk to two things. It's really a pleasure for me to meet Wilfong tonight because I've heard about him. And the bill that the woman mentioned earlier, which is 1269, was before the Natural Resources Committee in the House, and I brought that bill forward. And it's true, it was to close some loopholes from the Natural Resources Act that Jim worked on. So it was a nice way of rounding out and expanding the definition of groundwater wells. And I came in one day and I heard there was an amendment called the Fisk Amendment, and I was like, my God, what's this? And when I looked at it, I thought, I had no part of this. I hadn't even been asked about this. And just as a clarification, there was a great internal battle that took place. Not much happened out in the public, but a lot happened in the hallways. And we did get the Fisk Amendment pulled off my bill. But I want you to know, it was more than Mr. Fisk, it was actually the Natural Resources Committee that had asked him to put that on, trying to capture a number of things they wanted, and thought my bill would be the good rider for that. But fortunately, we got rid of it, and the bill did get passed. It did expand the definition of groundwater wells and required much further permitting, and it was the only bill out of 13 that got having to do with water that got through the Natural Resources Committee. And then another thing that I didn't realize Jim was responsible for, but I'd like to bring to your attention when we talk about the bottle bill. Thank you for doing that. You don't realize how average people give a little time in the legislature and what a big impact they have on, the laws of Maine and the environment as a whole. And I want to share with you what struck me tonight as I watched this movie and hear Jim talking about it relative to plastic bottles, is that I am the House Chair of the Government Oversight Committee. And that committee oversees a program called OPEGA, Office of Program Evaluation and Government Accountability. And before my committee came this request to look at the whole bottle bill policy. As it turned out, we've put it to the side because we had more pressing issues before us that we needed to move for review by OPEGA. But I want to tell you this because right now you are reacting to what's happening with water. So I'm hoping this information will give you a little bit of a heads up and maybe be ready for possibly your next battle, which is that the bottle bill was brought to us because they feel it's become complex. It's difficult to figure out where the bottles are going, where the money's going, and they started to say in the legislature, well, Maine's become so good at recycling that maybe we need to be thinking about doing away with the bottle.
Yeah, you know what? Call us when that happens, exactly.
We will. But my point is, you need to be watching for that too, because the talk has started about doing away with the bottle bill. So I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Well, that's interesting. And OPEGA actually was my legislation as well. The program review law that was passed, we passed that in 1975. Dick Spencer and I sponsored it. And it was not to do away with things like the bottle bill. Let me just tell you, it was to look at a lot of other things.
I wouldn't say that OPEGA would actually do away with it, but they would be reviewing it to see if it's efficient and working anymore. And then it would actually be the Business and Economic Development Committee that would take that bill and decide whether or not the bottle bill should stay in.
Is OPEGA a public process? Or is that behind
Yes. OPEGA has an awful lot of authority. It's set up for the legislature and people, the public, individuals, people throughout any departments, the legislators themselves can speak to the Government Oversight Committee and OPEGA and say, we think there's a real problem with this agency, with this department, with a certain law. And then the committee that I chair, we look over these different issues and we decide which one is really pressing and merits going to OPEGA's work plan.
Public?
Well, part of it, OPEGA is empowered to have subpoena power and to do intense investigations. Their reports and their presentation to the Government Oversight Committee, that's public, but the rest of their work is not public. And that's really to protect you more so that they can go in and really dive into different issues and get people to feel comfortable about coming up and speaking to them and knowing that they will be protected.
It's investigatory rather than oversight.
Absolutely. There's the Government Oversight Committee that runs OPEGA. OPEGA gets to go in and do the research, investigations, and the audits. But they can be very helpful to you. So you could reach out to them if you feel something's afoul.
We started out with that.